Deal or no deal meets Formula One. That was how the moment that Michael Masi radioed into Red Bull to discuss where Max Verstappen would line up for the restart of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix was described by so many. Well, we have more of the fallout from that peculiar moment in Saudi Arabia in the news headlines this Tuesday at GPFans. And of course, we're discussing the street circuit itself through the eyes of the drivers, as George Russell speaks out on how he found the Jeddah track. Now, before we go any further, just a reminder, hit the subscribe button down below to stay up to date with everything that we do here at the channel. But now let's get into the all-important headlines as we continue the fallout of Saudi Arabia before, of course, we will get into all things Abu Dhabi later on in the week. FIA race director Michael Masi has revealed he has no authority to instruct teams after agreeing to a controversial deal with Red Bull during the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. The race at the Jeddah Street Circuit was filled with a number of controversial incidents, and if you want to hear us break down all of them, check out the GPFans Stewards Room podcast on all good podcasting outlets, and it will be available on the YouTube channel later on this week. But none of them seem to cause as much commotion and perhaps confusion to fans as the radio discussion during the second red flag of the race between Michael Masi and Red Bull team manager Jonathan Wheatley. With Max Verstappen having taken the lead of the Grand Prix at the first restart while off the circuit, the Dutch driver had seen the race red flagged again before the FIA even really had a chance to tell him to hand back the position. While the race was paused for a second time, Masi came on the radio to Red Bull to offer them the chance to move Max back a position on the grid, a move that would initially see the Dutchman lining up behind Esteban Ocon, who'd snuck between the two title contenders during all the commotion, but still ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Masi was questioned on this by Red Bull before the FIA race director then confirmed that in fact Verstappen would have to move back 2 places behind both Ocon and Hamilton for the restart of the race. Now, both times, Jonathan Wheatley requested time to ponder over the FIA's offer that was being laid out on the table before them, eventually accepting the grid place drop for the restart in a near farcical deal or no deal type scenario. When asked if this sort of offering a penalty to teams was normal procedure, Michael Masi replied, "It's very much. I wouldn't call it a deal. From a race director's perspective, I have no authority to actually instruct the teams to do anything. In that situation, I can give them an offer. I have the ability to do that, but the choice is theirs. The stewards are obviously empowered to impose penalties, but I can give them my perspective, so that is why I offered them the ability to give that position up." As a result of the red flag that came about the incident at turn 3, the priority in any red flag situation is A, to make sure that the drivers are safe, and then B, to activate the recovery so the marshals can do so and clean the track and so forth. So it probably seemed a bit elongated compared to normal. However, it was very much a normal discussion that takes place. Now, Masi continued to reveal he had informed the stewards of his planned course of action before contacting the teams with his offer. When I saw what happened at turn 2, I immediately suggested to the stewards that I was going to give the team the ability to give that place back, Masi explained. The red flag obviously ensued very quickly thereafter, and that was absolutely the priority before we got going again. Being under a suspension, there was the ability to effectively correct that before we went racing again. Now, this may just be a case of Formula One allowing us to see how the sausage is made, and maybe we're being given almost too much information that we weren't aware of previously as fans and journalists around the sport. But if this is such a normal proceeding, it's very interesting that this is the first time that we're really hearing about it, and particularly with the comments made by Christian Horner about Formula One missing Charlie Whiting's experience as an FIA race director this last weekend. Now, elsewhere, the Grand Prix Drivers Association director and Williams F1 driver George Russell believes Formula One has plenty to learn over safety as he labelled the Jeddah Street Circuit in Saudi Arabia a recipe for disaster. The Williams driver was involved in a hefty shunt with Haas driver Nikita Mazepin at the restart of the race after Mick Schumacher's spin into the barriers brought out the first red flag of Sunday's Grand Prix. The rear end of the British driver's car was scooped up by the front wing of Mazepin from behind as the field bunched together to avoid the mess further up the road caused by contact between Sergio Perez and Charles Leclerc. And on a track with very few places to escape to, Russell and the Russians coming together seemed pretty much inevitable. Reacting to the incident, Russell said, "It was a big impact. It is so difficult for all the drivers. You come around a corner which is full gas and suddenly there is a car sideways. There is tyre smoke everywhere. You don't know what is about to happen." A lot to learn from this weekend in terms of these circuits. Incredibly exhilarating, so fast, exciting to drive from a driving perspective, but lacking quite a lot from a racing perspective. Let's see what happens in the future, and just generally, a lot to learn, I think. Although chaos was avoided on the initial race start, Russell confirmed that he had been far from calm in the cockpit of his Williams. To be honest, it was much of the same through the opening laps, because it was just chaos from turn 3 through turn 7, explained Russell. You couldn't see anything, cars were everywhere, and again, it is a great track to drive, but it is a recipe for disaster. A rethink is needed if we do come back here next year, which I guess we are. I think there are some things they need to modify to make these kinks just straights. It is so blind, and we have already seen too many incidents waiting to happen. The Jeddah Street Circuit then looks like a wonderful time trial track, doesn't look like a great racing track for the drivers. We discussed that and plenty more, as I said earlier, on the GPFans Stewards Room podcast. Remember to go to that on all good podcasting outlets, or wait for it to drop here on the channel. Hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with everything that we do here at GPFans. And of course, let us know your thoughts, both on what Michael Masi has said in the fallout from Saudi Arabia, and perhaps George Russell's perspective on the track, down in the comments section below. And we'll be building up to everything that is coming with the title decider this coming weekend in Abu Dhabi.